phone takes 36. Dayna was having audio, video, everything issues today. It's never me. It's always her. But we love her anyway.
Are we going to do the intro?
This is the intro. No, I'm calling you out in the intro.
Okay. Didn't we say in a previous episode that Nina loves to call me out, but I can't call her out because the shit that she does shouldn't be on tape? So I have to be the bigger person.
It is what it is. It is what it is, bro. I love you though. Yeah. It's cool. We're here now.
Yeah, we took a little breaky break.
We did.
For the holiday.
Because we do this because we love it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We don't get paid to do.
And our scheduled record date was on my birthday, and I just
it was. And I was just looking at the calendar like it's not gonna happen today or this week. Yeah. So we're here. We're in 2021. Barely made it 6 days before the end of our nation as we know it came to a head. Mm-hmm. But somehow we made it through, you know what I'm saying? And Black people were just at home minding our Black ass business.
Not surprised at all? Not
surprised at all. In fact, we were like, look at these white people.
Yes, taking bets on if they were actually going to have consequences.
You know what? I think they've had more consequences than I thought that they were going to have.
Yeah.
Now, do I want them to have more consequences than what's currently going on? Of course.
Yeah.
But I saw some people on some no-fly lists.
Yeah, that was some shout out to some flight attendants who organized that to get on no-fly list. People were finding that. Oh, it was one girl who identified her mother was. If you saw one of the many videos, her mother got punched in the face by a Black woman police officer because the woman was like lunging at the Black woman. So it was the Black woman was defending herself.
Yeah.
And then the white woman on camera, her nose was bleeding. I'm assuming it was broke or something like that. And she's like, that woman just hit me out of nowhere, the Black one.
Oh my God.
Wait. Cut to Twitter. Her daughter tweets and says, my mom told me I couldn't go to BLM protests because they would get too violent. Mom, is this you? And showed the picture of her mama. People didn't believe it was her mama. She showed pictures like, this is my mom. And basically she was a young liberal lesbian of the family. And she was like, this my mama, this my uncle, this his wife, this whatever. And called out her relatives.
Call them out. See, this is when being an anti-masker comes in handy because none of them people have on masks. And because they're white, they didn't think they were going to get in trouble.
One man had his work ID, and that's how people identified him. He got fired. Like, he literally...
I think I did see that one.
Was
crazy.
They really thought this was like the War of 1812 or something, like some patriots. I don't know, like...
I mean, like, why are you carrying around a Confederate flag? Y'all got beat.
Y'all lost.
Yeah. It's treason. Talk about unpatriotic. I think being, the whole term patriotic, the flag, all that shit is racist to me, right? As a Black woman in America. But to your white ass, that's supposed to be your sacred garb. And y'all just completely disrespect what y'all claim to love so much. So I thought that was hilarious, but I hope everybody goes to prison. I need the FBI to do a way better job and to work way faster than they're working right now.
Yes.
And I need Trump to be impeached so that he don't get his pension and that he can't run for federal office no more. Very simple, very straightforward.
I want consequences. I want accountability.
And to all the people, all his cabinet members that are resigning, y'all don't get no cookie for that shit.
That's a 2 weeks notice.
Y'all been with this nigga for 5 years. Exactly. Y'all got 14 days.
It's a 2 week notice.
All you did was quit before you were fired. we all know how that goes. So that happened. What other crazy shit happened? I feel like, I don't know.
Twitter, Facebook, he got canceled from all the social media apps.
Yeah, and I really need a lot of y'all niggas that did not get into AP history to understand the difference between free speech,
girl,
and wanting to sign the terms and conditions of a private company. Those are not the same thing.
Yes. I saw one guy reply to a tweet and he was like, they're a private company, and because Republicans didn't want to make gay cakes. Now there's actually like a call out of you could be a private company and deny people
when the
based
clownery comes back to bite. Okay, when the clownery comes back to fucking bite.
Yeah, so
y'all are idiots. And also, there's limits on free speech anyway. Like, you can't. That's why you can't yell fire in a movie theater, right? Yeah. Like, you can't incite violence with your free speech. Like, that's just not how it works.
Especially, I would think, as the leader of the free world, like, you can't. I don't think you can.
So embarrassing. I just know everybody foreign group chats was going off. And I wish I was a part of some, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wish I was on WhatsApp groups.
I get sympathy.
I just feel like the jokes were just rolling it.
I get excused from meetings early for sympathy from my non-American coworkers.
Oh, right. Swedish coworkers are like, what the fuck is going on there?
Good luck. Good luck. They used to be like, good luck. So how's it going over there? You know.
And then we got some new music this week.
Yes. That actually goes into our queen shit. Our queen shit this week is Jasmine Marie Sullivan, who dropped Hotels.
Not her government.
Yes. Who dropped Hotels, her project. She don't want to call it an album. Her project that dropped on Friday. I haven't actually enjoyed listening to anything from start to finish and replay it from start to finish every single time. Like, it's been a minute. I feel like I just pick songs and will eventually get to it, but I feel like this project tells a story that I can listen to from beginning to end. Her voice, flawless.
I mean, she's a great storyteller, and her singing is
her pen game is amazing. Of like, she's wonderful. Ari is on the track. Ari Lennox, her, Jasmine.
Yeah, I like
Jasmine and her Girl Like Me. It's like, how do their voices sound like butter?
I know, like butter. Yeah.
Someone tweeted macaroni and cheese and yams and was like, "This is how their voices sound together."
The voices just the holy trinity of sides.
Yes.
I will say though, I have listened to the album not the whole way through, but when I got to the Ari song, the word "spit" is in it, and I just couldn't listen.
I thought about you when that song came on, and I said, I don't think Nina's gonna listen to this.
I really tried, and then the word "spit" came out once, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's and then I was like, it's in the chorus, and I'm like, I can't. So it's always going to be a skip.
And that's the one that
I have this weird saliva phobia, y'all. Oh, yeah. If you know me, you know. Yes. But yeah, I can't do it.
Will hand your baby back to you.
Oh, absolutely.
If that start.
Yes, absolutely. The Rona, the panorama.
Okay, we're what, 10 months in?
That is still here with us. We are in month 10. Oh my God. March, what was it? 13th? March 13th or something like that. It was like the Friday the 13th was like when America for real was like, oh shit, let's shut this shit down. Wow. So it's about to be a year. And for today's episode, we thought, it's a new year, but Corona's still here. Okay. And I just made that up and it rhymes. Get at me. And so we thought, we'd bring some amazing, phenomenal women onto our show, who are Black medical professionals, and to talk to us about Corona, the pandemic, what it's like to be a Black medical professional. I mean, being Black in the medical field is already a mindfuck. It's already discriminatory. You already are dealing with a lot of institutional racism, medical racism. Like, we could go on for days, but then also like compacting that in this I almost said in this panorama, but
it is
in this pandemic is even harder. So our first guest I'm going to introduce to you, her name is Celeste Todd. Celeste Todd is a critical care RN currently in grad school pursuing her master's degree to become an acute care nurse practitioner. She's been an RN for 7 years and has been working in the ICU since graduating from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, go Blue, in 2013. She's a Detroit native, but currently resides where the money is, okay, in Texas, and enjoys art, family time, fitness, reading, and music in her free time. And she is a Capricorn, and her birthday was just a day before we recorded this show. So welcome, Celeste Todd.
Shout out.
Hey guys.
Shout out to the Capricorns.
Okay.
We also have with us Dr. Semhar Tesfai. Semhar is an emergency medicine resident at the University of Chicago. She graduated from the University of Michigan in 2012 and Rush Medical College in 2018. After completing residency this coming June, she'll be starting a fellowship position at Cook County in Chicago as a simulation education fellow. Her medical interests are addressing health disparities and medical education. In her free time, she travels, tries new restaurants, and is a self-declared MBA commentator, and enjoys spending time with her family and friends. And she's a Pisces. Welcome, Dr. Semhar.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Of course. We're glad that you're here, that y'all can make time in the middle of a panorama and y'all busy schedules for us, that's for sure. So, I mean, clearly me and Dayna know you, and just, not a disclaimer, but these are our life sisters. They're amazing. We've known them for a very long time. And so we've known them for a very long time, but we also want to talk about like why they even got into the medical profession. I feel like I know, right, from like college and seeing you study and understanding where your passion lies, but like as Black women, like what made you want to get into the medical field?
Okay, so I'll start. My grandmother was a nurse, but as a kid, I never really aspired to be in the medical field. I actually wanted to go into mortuary science. So I used to go to Wayne State, do their little simulations, and like on Halloween they had all that, so I was interested in that. But when I got to the University of Michigan, I took a volunteer course, which was medical based, and I volunteered at the Arbor Hospice. And it was there where like shadowing the nurses or talking to the nurses, I really was like, I want to do this. Like, I want to make a difference in people's lives. I want to be that bedside person for those who don't have family, or even for those people who are in, the hospital or something for elongated periods of time, and just being able to build that relationship, but also being able to provide quality care. Because as a person who was in and out of the medical system as a child, I felt like people from the Black community are overlooked, or things aren't taken as seriously for the population. So part of my passion is to ensure quality care for everybody, and especially my people of color. So a lot of my reasons align with Celeste, but for me, like as a kid, I was just good at the STEMs. Like that's what came natural to me, math and science. So I was just like, this is probably what I should do. But y'all know, like I'm a child of immigrant parents. So I was like an 8-year-old translating. I mean, like, who knows? Like, I don't know what a kidney is in English or Tigrinya, but like, I translated. So like, as I got older and I look back on some of like experiences like that, I realized like it's so many gaps in the medical care that poor people of color, immigrants receive. And I was like, this is an opportunity for me to like close those gaps, because it really is an honor. And people are really trusting you. Like they have no idea what we do half the time. So they're really trusting you. And for me, it was like, I took that personally. So I wanted to be that person. So it was like, I'm good at it and it seems like I'm needed. So, I mean, that's how I ended up here.
Wow. See, that's what I love. I love the Black girl magic here. I remember when y'all used to be studying, when we used to have our study time in East Quad. For some reason, I remember East Quad specifically in the first floor, like study room. We used to be up in there. And I couldn't help y'all study because I didn't understand none of that, but I was always there to support.
Right?
It is. So how would you say now that we're in the Panasonic, your roles or careers or outlook has changed?
So I'll just say that we are so much busier. Like I feel like at any given moment, we have 40 people in our waiting room. I'm an emergency department on the south side of Chicago. We are a 55-bed ER. And for those of y'all that don't know, that is huge. Like that is a very big emergency department. And then all of a sudden, halfway through the pandemic, they're like, we're going to turn the ambulance bay into a little bit of an extension of our ER. We're going to put in, and then we have a new floor that became an extension of our ER. because regardless of what we did and how quickly we tried to move, there just was not enough space. And I think especially in the beginning of the pandemic, people were really afraid to like leave their house. Like people were not going to their, you know, for a lot of reasons. They couldn't, they were told not to, there were televisits. So like people weren't going to their regular visits, and then they would come into the hospital, into the emergency department in very, very critical condition. So everybody's a lot sicker, and it's small things like we can't eat at work, or, you know, like we used to do. I'm used to eating and snacking at my desk all day. Obviously not safe. I'm a hugger. I hug my patients all the time. Obviously, I can't do that.
I don't think I've ever had a doctor that hugged me.
Oh, girl, I'm giving them out like candy.
Dang.
I do.
I got some numbers to call. I need a new doctor.
I've never been hugged by my doctor.
Really? Well, that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah,
that's probably a whole other conversation. But no, I've never gotten that type of affection from my doctor.
Yeah, I mean, it you know, circumstances are different. Sometimes people will say, "Are you a prayer? Can you pray for me?" And it depends on what the patient is like open to. But I'm definitely open to hugging, praying, chit chatting, talking about your grandma, whatever. But that's a conversation for another day.
See, no, that's a good doctor.
Because I would open up to you at that point. Like that's something to relate.
Yeah. Look at you doing a good job. What about for you, Celeste, like working in ICU, you know, and being a nurse?
Yes, so it's been a lot busier. At the beginning of the pandemic, we still had a full staff. Our supplies still, we haven't been on a shortage, so that's a blessing. But since, I say like June, because like Semhar said, at the beginning, people were more diligent in staying home, not going out. But now we're getting more and more people. They're sicker and sicker. My job is not only busier, it makes for harder days. And I'm also a charge nurse. So like the charge nurses overlook the rest of the staff on the floor. So now they're putting the charge nurses in staffing. So we're getting 2 patients as well as having to look over all of these other nurses. And now we have FEMA nurses or RAC nurses and travelers. So a lot of them aren't used to the layout of the floor. There's certain like protocols and stuff that we do throughout the day that they're just not familiar with. So they're needing staff nurses and the charge nurses to help them. And we just aren't able to, you know, give them the attention that they really need.
Yeah. But no, that sounds really tough.
Yeah, and in addition to that, the patients, we have almost every patient manually proned, which means they're laying on their belly. Most of the time when patients are in the hospital, they're in their back. So that takes a team of nurses to actually get that to happen, because it's just better for the oxygenation of the patients. But it's been a really tough time and really, really busy.
Wow.
To already very busy jobs. Right.
Yes. Already... ICU nurse and an ER doctor. Like you can't. This is a script waiting to be written.
Yeah.
Where's Shonda?
I've been trying to help Shonda issue with years. She don't respond to my Instagram posts.
You know, and I think this might be a good segue, because I do have one listener submitted question, and my partner Ruben just has to know how y'all feel about Black doctors and Black nurses portrayal on TV, and if it's realistic or not. I promise I would ask.
So I'll just start, because mine is going to be very short. I do not watch any medical television show, because there's always something that's inaccurate and it pisses me off. So I refuse to give in to them. Everybody talks about Grace. I've never seen an episode of Grace. Not that I have anything against it, but it's based off of my whole like medical background, and I just get so frustrated. And I've actually tried to become like the medical consultant for television. Like I looked it up and everything, because I'm like, they just need help. And I know sometimes it's probably about supplies, but I don't care. So no, I have no opinion really on that because I don't watch.
I feel like Semhar watches all of the medical shows.
Well, no, I don't watch them all, but I've been riding with my girl Shonda for many, many seasons. Honestly, I started watching them sophomore year of college, so that can give you some context. But I watch it for the sex and the drama. Like the medical stuff is like, whatever.
It's whatever.
It is. It's like, it's like a, what do they call it? Soap opera, basically.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, the portrayal of anything medical is actually not accurate. I will say that Shonda has a lot of Black people, physicians, nurses in power in her show. Like they're like the head of the Department of Cardiology and OB-GYN and general surgery and the chief of the whole hospital. And it's like, that's not real at all. But I like the energy, so I'll take it.
Yeah.
I like that, yeah.
Okay. Our listener will be very happy to have that question be answered. He's a good doctor fan, so we'll leave it at that. So, for both of you, and I think that this gets into it, clearly you're constantly exposed to COVID, right? And it's this beast that we didn't see coming, that we didn't know. When it first came, we were like, what the hell is this? Nobody knew how to treat it. People really still don't even know how to treat it, kind of. Like it's a bag of things. Like, how has that personally affected you guys? Because, I mean, you're both Black women. We all, as Black people and brown people in the world, we've been disproportionately affected by people dying of COVID and being infected with COVID, but you're also just in it. So, like, could each of you just talk about how you've personally been affected by COVID?
I'll start.
Sure.
Honestly, for me, for the last 10 months, I've just had anxiety that I've never had in my life before. Every shift, I'm like, dear Lord, this is going to be the shift I get COVID and I'm going to be the dummy that dies. Like, I just it's just all this anxiety. Yeah. I did get COVID. I am 99% sure I got it at work. I was on my trauma block, which basically means any trauma patient that comes in, I'm supposed to be part of that team, which also means a lot of them need intubation, which is us putting a breathing tube down their throat, which is unfortunately a very high risk procedure for exposure. And it's crazy, right? If somebody's shot in the face or shot in the chest, we're not worried about some of the things that
COVID,
and a lot of them don't have masks on, whatever. It's basically the perfect storm. I think that's probably where I got it, who knows, but I was at home for 2 weeks. I'm better now. I'm also vaccinated, so I'm excited about, hopefully feeling.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. We definitely need to talk about the vaccination.
But yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest fear in general was getting sick and then bringing that home to the people that I love. So that's pretty much it.
Wow. And what about for you, Celeste?
Yeah, I was also affected. I'm also 99.9% sure I got it from work. But I'm also in clinical at the same facility that I work at. So same place. And for
double duty.
Yeah, when we're rounding for clinical, we're everywhere in the hospital. We're in the ICUs, on the floors, and it's not as diligent on the floor as it is in our COVID ICU. So I did my 2 weeks. I feel better. I'm also vaccinated. And at the beginning of COVID, I unfortunately had a family member die. I'm
sorry.
Which initially it didn't start off, when she went to the hospital, it wasn't for COVID. She had a heart attack, and then while they're getting tested, and she just progressively got worse while she was there. So it was a bunch of other compounding issues going on too. But at the beginning, it was just very, it took a toll on me. It still takes a toll on me because now we're having more and more, our outcomes aren't as great as they were at the beginning, but we're also dealing with sicker patients. So it's been.
Are you saying the survival rate of the people who are coming into the ICU with COVID?
Yeah, at the beginning we had some really, really sick people, but they were able to get off the ventilators, go home, and we would have the little celebrations afterwards. But lately we've been having way more patients pass than we've had, I say, in the last 6 months.
Wow.
So
yeah. Yeah, I was just reading about Los Angeles County, like 1 in 5 people have COVID and all of their ICU beds are full and like it's just getting worse and worse. And I'm just, I'm seeing people just in Tulum every weekend. And I just
Every weekend.
I'm just like every weekend with hookah and like but then also I'm also thinking about the people there. They can't escape. Like, their economy is based on tourism, so they're forced to kind of deal with us trying to escape from COVID, but it's just making it worse. So yeah, no, that's awful. So like for both of you, specifically with the vaccine, because there's a lot of mistrust for good reason with Black folks in the medical field. Literally, the field of gynecology was built on abusing Black women and thinking about all the experiments that were done on Black folks throughout history. I mean, there's just so much, and when it comes to this vaccine, although most Black folks are vaccinated, there's a lot of rhetoric around. I'm not getting the vaccine. Like they trying to kill us. So what do you say to?
Yeah.
So what do you say? What's your personal thoughts about that? And like, you both mentioned that you were vaccinated, and just thinking like, were you nervous about it? Were you hesitant about it? What made you? I mean, I guess your jobs kind of probably made you do it, but what do you say to other Black folks or brown folks who are like, nah, I'm not interested?
Yeah, so I completely get it, especially with this being so new. People feel like it came out super fast, but when you do more research into it, if you look at the name where it says SARS-CoV-2, it's a more work done on the original SARS vaccine. But I think for me, I'm gonna be honest, once I saw the white doctors and white nurses get it, I was like, they ain't gonna take out everybody and just leave a few of us. So,
that's real. That's real. That is very real.
On top of that, I did do a lot of other research and listen to people's doctors' presentations at our at my facility as well as online. Our infectious disease doctor, she's very diligent in how she takes care of her patients. And when this first came about, she was able to coach us through a lot. So I feel good asking her like her opinion or down risk versus benefits and all that kind of stuff. And so especially working in the thick of it, and then my family is nowhere near being around it. I just feel like it's important for me in my line of work to be able to not only protect myself, but my patients and my family.
That makes sense.
Okay, what about for you, Sam?
So I mean, I think like everyone who has any sort of sense, I had some hesitation too, right? Like it's a new vaccine in the middle of a global pandemic under a Trump administration. I'm just like, Jesus, Lord, what is about to happen? But like Celeste, you have to do your own research, right? Like if we trust everything else that medical providers are giving us, if you got all the other vaccines, if you're letting me get blood from you and give you treatment for 25 other things that most patients probably don't fully understand, a little part of me was like, as a provider, I have to trust this system. But I did my own research. You can look at the ingredients. There's nothing that even has semblance of a microchip. And Celeste is right? Like, let's be honest. This has disproportionately affected Black and brown bodies, right? But it also has affected the entire world, our economy, the stock market. And that's why they're pressed to figure out what's going on. So even if you don't,
right, it's about the money.
So even if, like this wasn't made for you, and I think you have to kind of view it as like a big picture, like this is made for our global community. So they're not gonna like take one vaccine out of the row of 6 million and put a microchip in that one to get Susie off the block, right? Like, so I think you have to be a little reflective about what kind of the big picture is. I say all that to say, I understand Black people's fears, right? You talked about the father of gynecology, Dr. Sims, who who just did all of this stuff on enslaved Black women and their babies. And it's a million examples of that. A lot of people have been talking about the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, even if they don't exactly know what it is. They know that it was traumatizing to Black bodies, right? Black people are involuntarily sterilized in prison. So much of this, and let's be clear, like that stuff, those examples, some of them were 200 years ago, but some of the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, that was in the 70s. Our parents were alive, right?
Right.
So I understand.
I just told you a doctor never hugged me. I think it's some racist shit now. I'm really starting to.
I didn't know that was an option. I didn't know you could choose that.
I'm not sure that everyone.
Did I have to like click a box on my form?
Is it a drop down I missed?
A bitch that could. Maybe that would have made my blood pressure go down. Maybe that would have, you know what I'm saying?
But y'all know
maybe
me. Y'all know me. I would literally go off the street. So I think that maybe it's a little bit more of a than all doctors. But anyway, I say all that to say that it's an unfortunate, messed up medical system in the historical context of it.
Absolutely.
So I get it. Yeah. But y'all need to talk to people you trust, people that love you, who look out for you, like, and then make a very educated decision. Don't go in some random, what's this new
Clubhouse room?
Clubhouse, Jesus. Please don't go into a random Clubhouse and listen to self-declared doctors and nurses. What?
Dr. CB.
Like, what's happening?
Bruh.
All you need is some wheatgrass. That COVID will go right away.
Like, everybody talking about you need turmeric, vitamin D, and weed. Whoa.
Well,
I must have missed everything.
Wait, hold on. I didn't know weed was on the list. That's a new one.
How many people will be immune by now?
The hood would be okay. So we can throw that out the window.
Get educated and make educated, sound decisions, and have that backed by medical professionals that you trust. That's all I can say really about it.
In the rollout, or whatever the rollout will look like for the vaccine, do you all think there's any groups of people, whether it's by age or where you live or wherever, that should be running towards the vaccine versus others are like, okay, I'll do this at a different time? Like whether it's young people, people who take public transportation and expose to more people, or just like, if you're gonna get it, if you made the decision to get it, do you think there's any type of, these types of folks should get it sooner rather than later?
So I think in general, if you're immunocompromised, so that can mean you're on drugs that suppress your immune system, that can mean you have cancer, you have like significant comorbidities, you should be running towards the vaccine. Apparently it's like the Wild Wild West in Florida, and they're like dropping lotto tickets and people are like rushing to get it. It's like the PlayStation basically.
Oh, wow.
Seems on brand for Florida.
It is so on brand. But I'm also going to say everybody wants to retire in Florida. So, if we're going to, vaccinate our 70, 80, 90-year-olds, Florida should be spot. If you're high risk. So like we've been talking about frontliners, and I think we focus a lot on physicians and nurses and hospital personnel. But like if you're in the grocery store, if you're checking people out every day, if you're a CTA bus driver, like your risk is probably higher than mine if we're keeping it 100, because I'm completely... I'm in a PAPR and a P100, I have all of this protection, and you just have 150 people on your bus every day. So I encourage people like that who are really high risk to get it. Obviously, if you're in a home with your grandma that you love dearly, I encourage people like that to get vaccinated. It's going to be multiple phases of the rollout, but when your turn comes, run towards it is all I can really say.
I don't have any other population to add. I think she's something.
That's how, I was in a briefing today and they were talking about the rollout for Chicago, and it's literally what Semhar and Celeste just said. It's like if you're over 75, if you're over, and then they're doing over 65. Like it's all these different groups. And I was like, damn, I'm not never getting a vaccine. I wanted to ask during the meeting, but I'm like, bitch, stop being selfish. Cause I was like, are y'all getting us a vaccine? Like I work for the government and y'all didn't even mention us.
Nina thought it's true. Like up there with Kamala Harris.
Right.
I really did.
So do I come in tomorrow for mine, or how does that work?
I for sure thought city workers were going to be in like, not the top, I'm not a medical professional, but I thought it was going to be in like the third wave. A bitch was corrected today. So I was like, I was like, oh, so I'm like really never getting this vaccine.
Y'all better than me. You having conversations.
Oh, yeah, I guess y'all just out here.
Yeah.
Y'all just out here. So as far as like, both of you clearly have been in the medical profession pre-COVID and now, and like as a Black medical professional, what would you say are some of the takeaways that you hope come away from this pandemic, and that it's not done in vain as far as the medical field is concerned? Because I know clearly we're having some more of these conversations, but like, do you think it's actually going to go anywhere or change what your personal experience has been?
You mean in terms of healthcare in general, or like the remainder of this pandemic that seems to never want to go away?
Well, in healthcare in general, right? Because now we have medical professionals saying, oh shit, like we see this and it's in our face that Black and brown people are being disproportionately affected by this, by COVID. And it's been similar for my job. Like in government, like although I've been screaming this from the rooftop since I became a planner, now my colleagues are like, oh shit, like this pandemic proved that, what people have been saying is absolutely correct. And now we're going to do something about it. Lots of people write letters and, corporations are saying they're going to do. So what do you think the medical professional is going to walk away from this pandemic, like learning, and that you hope will actually carry on?
I kind of hope that so we like to talk about pre-existing medical conditions and throw out diabetes and high blood pressure and obesity. And so many of those have so many social factors that contribute to that. So this idea that Black people just have all these pre-existing conditions, no. A lot of our diet is rooted in slavery. It's so much historical context to these things. And I hope we start looking at patients' health more holistically. And being more reflective about the things that are causing, significant lower life expectancy. Like in Chicago, the life expectancy on the South Side and Gold Coast is legit 10, 15 years different. So we need to try to understand this, and not just in the setting of a global pandemic. And I'll be honest, this isn't news. This isn't news to healthcare providers, but I think it's coming a little bit more to a head, and people are a little bit more aware of it. Also, just as a government, we should have things in place to address a potential global pandemic, because shit happens, right?
Like a task force?
Like a task force,
like the one that Obama may have hired.
But again, a conversation for another day. But this should not have caught us by surprise the way it did. Also, just in general, outside of healthcare providers, I think that a lot of people realize, even 30, 20-year-olds, damn, I should really care about my health, because shit can hit the fan at any moment. And I should really see a primary doctor. I should find a doctor I trust. It takes 2 months in the crib to realize my mental health isn't where I thought it was I hope that this woke a lot of people up, and they realize that they should take charge of their health. They should find providers they trust. And I know it's not always easy. It's not easy to find providers that look like you, that you feel like you can relate with. But I hope if y'all came out of this pandemic with nothing, it's that you need to be in charge. You need to be your own advocate and do something about your health, because Trump sure isn't going to do it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's I feel like the community should take a greater accountability for their health and greater charge, especially in being diligent and seeing a primary care physician and all of that. As far as the medical profession, just like Semhar said, as far as the disparities, we learn about that in school. They have all these things in place that try to help prevent that, but systemic racism is in everything.
Racism, anti-Blackness.
It's like
it all,
because even some of the things, the BMI chart, I am not a fan of. I've never been a fan of it, because it doesn't take into account all these other factors that come into body composition. So that's just an example of one of the things I feel real passionate about. But
it's based on white bodies, right?
Yeah. And in the hospital, especially with like our medical professionals right now, with it being so busy, the education that we usually give to patients, especially transition out of the ICU, because a lot of stuff for those patients change, isn't been as great as it has been in the past. So I feel like a lot of patients who are leaving post-COVID don't really know what to look out for or pay attention to those changes, because that fatigue lasts. A lot of people aren't understanding, like, some of the, even though you're over COVID, those symptoms lag on and on. And so some patients are just coming back because they're like, I've been tired for the past week and I had COVID last week. And it's kind of like a revolving door, because then they're not taking care of another thing that they need to be paying attention to because this is going on. So it's just that education piece needs to be emphasized, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, that's really, really, I always enjoy the doctors who actually sit down and answer all my questions. Like, if I don't feel pressured to like get out of the room, or
like I'm on the clock.
Like, oh, take this. Yeah, like take this and go. Like, people who actually sit down and like, okay, so let me walk you through every single step. And those doctors have always been people of color. Well, for the most part. I had one doctor I had to cut her loose. I don't know where she was from. She had a thick accent. But I had to cut her loose because I my back went out, and she just kept saying I needed to lose weight.
I remember
and I'm like,
that.
Baby girl, yes. I'm like, this can't be it. Like, I understand, but give me something else. You're continue to talk about my weight, baby girl. Run a test.
Yeah.
Like, what else is going on?
And I mean, you're right, Nina, because you're doctors, nurses, we're part of a system at large, that we are part of this system that has historically marginalized Black bodies, right? So like, you might not, your Black doctors might not cut it. And you might find a white doctor who gives you everything you need. It's just about doing exactly what you did. If you're not getting what you want, next. Like, let me
advocating for
someone
yourself.
who's gonna hear me out, who's gonna, serve.
And feeling like you can.
Yeah.
In that moment, I was like, okay, I know I can switch doctors, right? Like, because I had good insurance, which is a blessing, right? That's a privilege, because there's some people who are like if you have an HMO and there's one doctor on the list,
that one doctor,
you don't have a choice but to go to that doctor. And so that's something I always have to think. I know, like, oh, okay, let me remind myself, like, I don't have to stay in the situation if I'm, feeling empowered enough to be like, man, I literally, and then she started to apologize. I was like, okay, this is my last visit. I'm switching doctors. I literally told her that. And then she started to apologize, and she was like, what did I do? And I'm like, I've been going to you for 2 years, and let me tell you exactly where you fucked up every single time.
Write that letter.
I feel it though. That's good though. More people should take charge of because some people would have stayed in that situation, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse, and then something that could have been taken care of at point A is now on point Z, and it's just like,
it shouldn't have been made. I mean, even when we look at Black infant mortality rates, and like and Black women, like, who, like, I'm scared to have a
terrified.
Baby. Not because like, yes, they drool and all that, but like literally delivering this baby on my own,
it's terrifying. And as a physician, it is terrifying. So I can't even imagine.
Yeah. So what do you think, switching back to like just COVID, how our where our respective communities, and we grew up in diverse Black neighborhoods, like, what do you think some of the biggest misconceptions that you hear about COVID from people that or people in your family or people from around the way, that you were like, look, I'm a doctor, let me tell you, this shit is not true?
Well, I'm a nurse, so
I'm a nurse. I'm so sorry.
You're fine. At the beginning, it wasn't many people of color that were coming out saying it. So that was the funny thing, where they were like, Black people can't get COVID. And it's like, dude, yeah, we can. So
we can.
I got the running joke because of that.
I like the ignorant tweet. I was about to say, I'm sure I liked it. I'm sure I like the ignorant tweeter too.
And then more currently, just how you were saying, like the turmeric or sea moss, that whole yes, I do believe that certain things
natural
or
herbal remedies,
like but when you are short of breath with a fever of 104 and like you're in severe pain, I honestly can't tell you
that sea moss not gonna do nothing to you.
Like,
yeah,
okay.
Really need some vitamin C.
Yeah, boosting your immune system is not the same as battling and not getting COVID.
Yeah.
No, so my zip code in Chicago, actually, I want to say it wasn't this week, but a few weeks ago, had the highest positive testing rate. And what they were saying at like these briefings that we have is that it wasn't that people were going out, but they would have like 10 family members over, and then they all get COVID. So it's not, so yes, going to Tulum is bad, but it's not even those people. It's like the people that's like, oh no, I'm have a little get together in my backyard, and then everybody gets COVID, and that's how people in my zip code were like.
I think people think social distancing mean just be around people you know, or like your family or homies, but really that's like you're literally you're throwing a party to endanger everybody that you care about, that you're close to.
And I'm gonna go back to what Nina just said. Also, in a lot of Black and brown communities, we live in a very communal way. So like people live with their TT, their uncles, their grandmother. If one person has COVID in a 2-bedroom house, quarantining in a room,
everybody gets COVID,
option, right? So you're at higher risk because there are 10 bodies in and out the house. And then if one of you get it, so I think it's not just people having parties in their backyard, but I think it's just the way certain communities have lived because that's what their culture is, or because that's what finances are about.
Or if most of them work as essential workers.
Exactly.
Like,
so it's a million factors.
Most of us are essential workers.
Yep. And it's just that contact tracing.
On
like
the front line.
One person. You see the news, a wedding of 200 people, and like one person had it, and then they all come. Yeah.
That everybody got COVID.
But we're also
ain't nobody wedding.
We're not putting a microchip in anybody. Look at the ingredients.
Yes,
that's lipids, salt, mRNA, some other stuff.
But the messenger, I
talked about that.
The messenger, the M.
I don't know what that shit is.
And mRNA stands for messenger. And the messages, they putting messages and changing your DNA with the messages, and they sending messages.
You've been in too many clubhouses.
Brainwash you,
bruh.
Rhymes with mastery. About the master.
They making you think you a slave. It's mental slavery with the vaccine.
Stop, chill on these folks. But yeah.
So no, I saw this thing that said the vaccine has.
I'm talking about it.
The vaccine has what?
Potassium chloride in it. And then they were like, well, that's the stuff that they use to kill people in jail all the time. And I'm like, do y'all realize what potassium chloride is? Like, really? And then
well, I'm gonna let you know now, most of us do not know what potassium
you know what potassium is.
And bananas,
your body naturally has potassium.
It's a vitamin.
It's K.
Okay.
Right? It's an electrolyte, yeah.
And then
yes, it's K. Look at you. Okay.
Yes. Okay, never mind. I wasn't honest by shout out to Mr. Blavel.
But yes, it is an ingredient in the lethal injection, but it's in massive amounts. So this little 0.5 mLs or whatever the dosage is in there is not going to stop your heart.
You know, everybody want to be fake deep though.
Yeah,
or read one article.
That's the other thing. Can y'all please go to like evidence-based information, because the stuff that I'm hearing,
you know what country you live in?
You have access to credible sources, and y'all using all these other platforms, and
people just stormed the U.S. Capitol because they think the election was stolen. Nobody's reading
anything.
Girl. And I realized your social media is really a reflection of what you believe in, because I went down this rabbit hole of like these Confederate like Trump supporting Twitter people, and I was like, Jesus Lord, they really have
they really believe,
yeah.
So it's like the rhetoric that you invite is what you see, and that reinforces your false ideas. So it's about us holding each other accountable and showing our moms, like, y'all, my mama, when I had COVID, she's just like, oh, all we're gonna do is pray. I said, I'm gonna take Tylenol. I am going to take some Zofran. Like, you can pray, and I firmly believe in the power of prayer. But like,
God also gave us free will. And
no,
doctors.
the last time I talked to my auntie, we was talking about COVID, and you know, I was like, be careful, blah blah. She's like, no, I serve an Almighty God. Like, I'm gonna wear a mask. She's not an anti-masker, but she's like, you know, guess who got COVID? So like, you know, you literally cannot pray that away. She's fine, she's good, but still, it's like, you can't pray that away, girl. Like, prayer plus, but also taking measures to be
prayer
and it has to be
prayer without works is dead.
It is dead.
Yeah, so work that mask over your face,
and while you at it, close the churches down. But
I saw a church open the other day.
They're open. A lot of churches are open, and they're convincing them, not convincing, they're believing really that, you know, our God is Almighty God. He has all healing powers, you know, things that our Bible and our faith really does teach. But I think there's a line, and we have to understand it. But my mom will be at church, so I'm not even gonna hold y'all up.
In churches or singing and opening their mouths,
I mean,
and hopefully with masks on.
Hollering.
I'm in Texas, so nothing closed.
Oh yeah, you in Texas, so y'all open.
The only thing I would say is if I was in Atlanta.
Oh yeah,
Atlanta is the vaccine apparently, because they good.
You should just go to Atlanta.
I will never forget so that good. Pool party. That compound really threw a whole pool party. That happened. I can't. Yeah, Atlanta out of control. So, are there any other things that you guys just want people to know about your experience thus far?
Go ahead, Swain.
Okay. I think I just want people to stay safe, to be honest. Be smart, stay diligent, wash your hands, wear your mask. I feel like the more people who engage in safe practices, the faster we can work to eradicate this thing. And also do your research with the vaccine. I know you may have some skepticism, but like we said, this doesn't look like it's going anywhere. We need some herd immunity going on.
Yeah.
So it's getting hard at the hospitals for those people who don't think that it's getting worse. Those numbers are still rising. That isn't that's not fake news.
Would you also say that for like, even if you needed to go to the emergency room for something that has nothing to do with COVID, you're likely either harder to find a bed or make it more difficult because there are so many. So even folks who are sitting at home chilling and you fall and break your leg, like.
We have people in our emergency department that have been there for like 5 and 6 days. Some of the OR people, they're sitting in PACU longer hours. So that's where you come, you wake up, the PACU nurse sends you to whatever floor you're gonna go to. But because there's a lack of beds and they're cutting down on elective surgeries here, but still emergent things are happening. People have heart attacks, those kind of things. Those patients are still having to wait. My hospital, we're fortunate to have multiple units that have been turned into COVID only. But if this continues to rise, it's going to be COVID patients everywhere.
What about you, Sam?
Think about that before you go to Tulum or Atlanta.
I'll say a couple of quick things. I think the first one is mostly to our peers. Like, this idea that young people aren't dying, y'all. Like, I've held the hands of a 20-year-old crying for his mother. Like, as he was being put on a vent and to later die, right? Like, this is happening every day. People who are otherwise healthy are dying. So, like, wherever y'all got this idea from, it's false. You're at risk of dying. Maybe not as much as your 78-year-old grandmother with COPD that been smoking since 20, but like you're at risk. But also it's your job to protect your grandma, right? So like we owe it to our neighbors, we owe it to our community, we owe it to the people we love, to be diligent, to do those things that Celeste just talked about. The second thing, I'm just going to take a minute to shout out our EVS, so environmental services.
Yes.
Like as a daughter of people who cleaned hospitals and hotels and nursing homes their whole life, shout out to these people who are cleaning all the mess that we leave behind, because they are really the unsung heroes in this. They are exposing themselves at crazy levels. They're getting infected and they coming back to work. So I'm just going to take a minute to shout them out. And then the last thing I'm going to say is like, I keep saying find trusted providers and find resources. If y'all really have questions, I am happy to sit down and talk to you for a little bit. I'll send you some resources. I'll answer questions to the best I can. There are people way smarter than me, so if you can find them, go with them. But like, I'm for real happy to have these conversations. If that means, you know, if you come to the table with an open mind, I'll come to the table with an open mind and we can have a real conversation about this. Cause like we have to do better for our communities. So let's do it. Like we Black people have been through the fire. We can make it through this if we use some sense and trust each other and hold each other accountable. So like get vaccinated, y'all.
You know, special thanks to our guests, Celeste Todd and Semhar Tesfai, for coming through today. We really appreciate y'all taking the time out to connect with us and also just, educating the audience. Do y'all want to share y'all socials at all? It's okay if you don't. Y'all are doctors and shit.
I mean, thanks for having us. I really enjoyed talking with you ladies. I guess I'm Celeste Jean 10 on Instagram and Twitter. That's it.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It kind of felt like college days for a little bit.
I know, right?
I'm Semi24 on Instagram. I don't really be talking about anything, but if y'all want to see my cute nieces and nephews, you can follow
me. Yeah, so y'all know where to find us. Hit us up. Let us know what you think about what's been going on with the panorama. And did you get a stimmy? Let us know. Did you get a stimmy? Because I want to know who's getting stimmies. You got yours?
Yeah. Dang, I didn't think I was going to get one.
That resident salary, mine hit last week.
That's so real. Dang. Yeah, nah. It's all right, though. I'm blessed. I'm going to keep telling myself that. Let me turn off some lights.
This episode was produced by us and edited by Dayna Cole. Our theme music is the track Same by Ricky Ells. Be sure to check it out on all streaming platforms. For questions, comments, feedback, or topic suggestions, hit us up at queentonepod@gmail.com. Be sure to also check us out and follow on Instagram and Twitter @queentonepod. Thanks for listening.